So I think a couple people have taught, they'll have to give us words of wisdom, like getting right down things that they've learned that they can share with the rest of us.
Okay, so we're the discussion group, and we are going to get started here, but we wanted to let you have in mind that we're thinking that you're going to be fifth graders during our strategy. So, but to get started, we're going to have you watch a little video clip on how to organize and enact a discussion within a classroom with little kids. So we have a little video clip of that to get started.
My name is Stacy Brewer. I teach 5th grade at Stevenson Elementary in Bellevue, Washington. My class has a lot of English as a second language learners in it. 8 of my students are officially ELL students, but 16 of them speak another language other than English at home. Today I'm going to have my kids talk about the text that they read, a difficult text that we read about Lewis and Clark. I wanted them to start by talking in a small group to sort of get their ideas started, and then we were going to meet in a whole group discussion to share those ideas and those thinking, all in preparation for a writing assignment. Was there any evidence that we had that told us how long it took them to get back?
It says like Tuesday floor is a 6-month return journey, so that makes it took 6 months. Finally, they came here on March 23rd, 1806, and on September 23rd, 1806, the Lewis and Clark expedition arrived safely back in St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay. So did that surprise you that it took less time to get back?
But it also says where the journey had begun more than 2 years earlier.
Oh, you didn't answer your question. You don't need me. So after we do the small group brainstorm, I ask them to come prepared for text talk time. Text talk time is a discussion structure that I created in order to give the kids an opportunity to talk about a text that we had been reading during the week. It's an opportunity for them to call the shots and to discuss what they were thinking when they read the text. And it's also an opportunity for me to ask questions that challenge them and that I'll later expect them to respond to in writing. How does the author feel about Lewis and Clark? Who thinks they found some evidence to back up what they think about how the author feels about Lewis and Clark? Let's go to Alyssa.
It says on page 644, from St. Louis and Clark traveled to Washington, D.C., and almost every town they passed through, they brought bands to welcome them as heroes, which meant that, like, whenever they came in, everyone's, like, cheering and, like, congratulate them. And so, like, the author, like, puts that in to make everyone feel that they're heroes. Yeah.
The next question was, what is the author's viewpoint about exploring?
Okay, so this was just kind of an example of how you might use it in a classroom. There's multiple kinds of discussion, but that was just a little example there. And then we're going to talk about the discussion strategy. Okay, so what is discussion? A discussion is an oral exploration of a topic, object, concept, or experience. Why use discussion for instruction? These are kind of just some overview points of like how it helps the student make sense of the world. It provides opportunities for the students to clarify and expand their ideas like in an open group. And it demonstrates questioning techniques and kind of just gets the ball moving within the classroom. So that kind of just broadens their mind a little bit more. Okay, so there are 3 kinds of discussions that we are kind of going to cover here. There's open-ended, guided, and circle or talking stick discussions. We're going to go through a little bit about each one of those. So, open-ended discussions begin with like a sincere question to which there is no one correct answer, so there's lots of discussion and debate, posed by teacher or student. All listeners consider the question, incorporate pauses after students' responses to encourage extended or different responses, clarify students' responses when necessary, establish student-student dialogue during the discussion whenever possible, respect students' questions and their responses, and model the role of being a sensitive listener,
collaborator, mediator, prompter, learning partner, and questioner. So guided discussions begin with teacher post questions, and it promotes like the exploration of a particular like text that you might be analyzing, which is what we're going to be doing today. Through discussion, students should achieve a deeper understanding of the topic, and after some time spent on teacher-directed questioning, students should be encouraged to facilitate the discussion after that. By continuing to formulate and pose questions appropriate to what you're talking about.
Okay, another form is the talking stick or circle discussions. I know there's a lot up there. These kind of discussions are really good if you have a lot of kids in your class that might be shy or not willing to participate on their own. You start this kind of discussion, you have the kids in a circle, and you have one person has a stick. It allows, everyone to get their idea across. Sometimes you might have a kid in your class that's a little shy, and they're not going to talk over anybody to get into the circle, but when they have that stick, it gives them the power to say their ideas and have their opinions heard. It can be used for small or large groups. You could do start in a small group, everyone has the talking stick, and then go to the big group and do it that way. Also mentioned on here is the inner outer circle method, and what you do there is you have a group of students in the inner circle, they have an active discussion, and then the kids around the outside just listen, and then you start to swap kids in and out of the circle so that every kid has an opportunity to be a part of the discussion and also to hear what their peers have to say.
When you read about that one, what do they do? Is it okay if a kid passes? Do they talk about that? If the kid just
With the
totally
talking stick?
Yeah.
Yeah, it said if the student doesn't want to take their turn, they can pass it on, but they encourage you to talk to the students about how, even if they just have something small to say or to add on to something someone else said, it's good to just, say something, but if they really don't want to, they can pass it
But
on.
not to go like this when they're trying to talk.
Yeah.
Make 'em like
There
that,
are
like-
some more discreet things where I remember when I did it in high school, we would just knock on our desk if we agreed or something. That's still kind of like just participating on the side in a way.
Well, I said if you have someone who's really shy, maybe you start with a question that's just something that you know that they would be able to say so that they get their confidence built up and not start with something that's going to intimidate them. But
Discussion at all grade levels. So the discussion strategy can be used at any grade level, so as long as expectations are clear, they can be used. Elementary students will require more teaching guidance and modeling of appropriate discussion behavior, but once taught, they can engage in their meaningful discussions, and they don't need to be guided through the discussion process. And discussions can be used in any subject. In language arts, book chats can be used in science, hypothesis and theory can be discussed. And then, as grade levels increase, the complexity and amount of teacher interruption can be reduced to a point where students lead the
I like
entire discussion.
I like that teacher interruption. And there's more and more brain theory going on and stuff now too that talks about how important it is to connect learning with talking. That it's so much a part of, because we teachers like to talk. And I taught with someone who always called us the talking heads. We like to be the talking heads, and we think we gotta let kids talk more and not always jump in with the right answers. Right?
And kind of like we were saying earlier, well, to observe students' participation and conduct in large and small group discussions, like which students are really talking or asking questions. You can note the settings, topics, and concepts or objects which stimulate most of the discussion, and then you can use those and then incorporate them in later lessons. It's always good to allow the quiet students opportunities, kind of like when they were saying about asking them questions that you know that they're going to be able to respond to and give an open response to. And ask students to provide you with a ticket out following the discussion that asks them to write what they learned, a question they had, or an idea that they did not share. And that kind of reminds me of the stoplight idea that we saw in this class. So we can use that.
Okay, so we got all of our information from the website. I can put it back up there if you wanted to copy it down. It's a really good website that has what I liked best about it is it kind of goes through each kind of discussion, how you can use it, and how you can use it in different subjects. They had a lot about how you can even use discussion with math, or in a science class, how you can discuss before you learn something. And I think it was really helpful because I never would have thought to use discussion in a math class or maybe some other subjects. But it's
Is
really
that website in your lesson plan?
yes, yep. But if you wanted to write it down or get it later, it's a really good resource.
So we're going to be discussing Jim Crow laws today, so we just wanted to show a brief video to kind of introduce it.
Jim Crow wasn't a real person, but a character played by actors in many minstrel
Doesn't seem like it's super dry.
tales.
Seems like we're only, there we go. You didn't see.
And white actors wore black makeup and made fun of African Americans. Laws that gave states, cities, and counties the legal right to punish people for association with members of another race became known as Jim Crow laws. The most common laws prevented marriage between people of different races and ordered businesses like theaters and railroads to keep black and white customers apart. In Virginia, it was illegal for white or Caucasian people to sit next to African American or colored people in any public hall, theater, opera house, motion picture show, or any place of public entertainment. There were separate bathrooms, drinking fountains, libraries, swimming pools, and beaches. While they were separate, they were seldom equal. African American citizens were not allowed to ride in the same section in buses and trains, eat in the same restaurants, or attend the same public schools as white people. These laws also led to job discrimination by making it legal to pay African Americans less than white workers. In Virginia, there were several colleges and universities which mostly enrolled African Americans. Hampton Institute, Virginia Union University, and others provided a place for African Americans to continue their education and become doctors, teachers, and business people in their communities. After the Civil War, Reconstruction laws were passed that gave African Americans rights as citizens, one of which was the right to vote. But new state laws that created poll taxes or fees that people had to pay to vote kept many African Americans and poor people from participating in elections. Literacy tests were also used. Since many African Americans were not able to attend school, they were often not able to pass a reading or writing test required before they could vote in elections.
So now that everyone kind of has like a background of what kind of Jim Crow law are, we're gonna have you guys take out your laptops and bring up the reading that we're gonna have you do.
This is awesome, because you know what? This is the sign for next week. It's reading.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, in fact, I saw you had it. I thought, I wonder what she's got next week's reading, but this is gonna save us